Since the release of Shin Megami Tensei V, many videos have been released pointing out the flaws of it and what it could have done better. Shin Megami Tensei is one of my favorite JRPG series because of its uniqueness. Before I start, let me state that I've only played SMT Nocturne, 4, Apocalypse, and 5. However, I love almost every single inch of this series. Up until I found out about SMT, there has never been another series that I've loved more than this. The music, story, and gameplay put this series leagues above any other RPGs I've ever played. But in my eyes and the eyes of many others, SMT 5 faltered and failed to be as compelling as the other entries in the series, particularly 4 and Nocturne. Let me explain. To start off, the major things that prevent SMT 5 from being as great as its predecessors are its story and a couple of gameplay choices. Let's look at its story. SMT 5's story is one that tries a lot of things and fails. The overall story is something that was, in my opinion, poorly executed but thought-provoking. SMT 5 has, in my opinion, a great concept, something that has huge potential. The whole concept of knowledge, Nahabino, and the Empyrean Throne is something that could make an amazing and just as compelling story as SMT4's and Nocturne's. And it kills me to say that SMT5 had the near-perfect formula, but just executed it poorly. The poor choices that led to a failure of execution include the non-existent alignment system, the god-awful method of choosing your ending, and the poor pacing. Alright, part 1. The alignment system. SMT5 made the same mistake that Apocalypse did with the alignment system, and that was the choice to barely make it impact the ending and gameplay. First, let's define what the alignment system is and its purpose. Essentially, we have it to choose our ending and pick which path we as the main character choose to take. So, the more you interact with the alignment system, the more you are engaged with the story, since every choice you are making is constantly adding on to which ending you will get. And the problem with having an alignment system that doesn't do anything is that it results in you taking a back seat for 90% of the game and just waiting for that one choice that actually matters to show up. And that's exactly what happens in SMT5. I didn't think that Atlas would make the same mistake that they did with Apocalypse in regards to the alignment system in SMT5, but it looks like they did. I genuinely, in my opinion, do think that treating the alignment system like this is the wrong way to go with an SMT game. The alignment system does so much for the game, especially when you have the alignment system to thank for keeping the players so engaged. Every decision is yours to make, and every decision matters. Except you have none of that in Shin Megami Tensei V. You have none of that. 90% of your choices, 99% of your choices don't matter. It's just that one little choice you make at the end. So, the brilliant decision of making you choose your ending in the last 10% makes the other 90% of the game pointless to sit through if your goal is simply to change your ending. At that point, there is nothing stopping you from making a save just before you choose the ending. Letting your ending be up to one singular choice at the end of the game was just a very poor decision, and letting the player choose their route. The point of the alignment system was to, again, give meaning to the first 90% of the game. Admittedly, Nocturne didn't really care about the alignment system either. However, the same sentiment was shown through your actions. You could only get the true demon ending if you chose to fully complete the Labyrinth of Amala and kill all the fiends. If you don't do those prerequisites, you can't get the true demon ending, which spices up the gameplay. It gives you a new gameplay route for you to take if you want the true demon ending. I can't really speak much more on Nocturne because every single time I've replayed Nocturne, I've only gotten the true demon ending. I haven't tried getting any other ending. SMT4 was wholly dependent on the alignment system to let you choose your route, and depending on the route you chose, the other 40% of the game would actually change. The dungeons and the people you end up with and talk to, and this ultimately affects the replayability of the game, which SMT5 is just not very replayable. Again, 90% of the game is just the same thing. The 10% at the end is what you're changing. I know at this point of the video it probably just sounds more of a rant than anything, but let me just keep going. The pacing of the game. The game was poorly paced, introducing many of the stakes when you're very far in the game. And another problem with the poor pacing is the creation of uninteresting characters. There wasn't a single character in the game that I really cared about. And a big problem is that this game is very character driven. You spend a lot of time interacting with these characters that you probably have no care for. I absolutely adore the samurai of SMT4. Jonathan, Walter, and Isabeau are characters that I really liked. And each time I'm forced to kill one of them, I do genuinely feel bad about it. I don't like killing any of them. When you choose the law or chaos route of SMT4, you're forced to kill Isabeau, and I remember the very first time I had to kill her, I truly didn't want to. That's how much the game made me care for the characters, and that's what makes SMT4 so brilliant. It makes you travel Tokyo with these characters for so long that you eventually start to care about them. Then you're forced to battle them, and these battles test just how determined you are to carry out the route that you've picked. This couldn't have been done if the samurai were just shallow archetypes that didn't have any real character. SMT5 had, in my opinion, a lot of one-dimensional characters. I did not like a lot of the characters, a lot of the cast. I didn't like Dazai especially. I felt like his character arc was very rushed. When you look at the articulate and careful planning that went into Jonathan, Walter, and Isabeau, and how they mirror each other, I feel like it's genius. It's genius because you have these characters that perfectly mirror each other, and it doesn't feel cliche. You know, it feels like these characters could really exist. Given that this post-apocalyptic world were to actually exist, you could sort of imagine these samurai existing with these ideals. And another really good thing about SMT4 is that when you do Chaos Route, you see Walter's character, you see him more fleshed out, you see him express his ideals more and more. And same thing for Jonathan. Well, not really, he kind of turns into Merkaba before he can really say anything, but the point is, when you do and choose one of these routes, you see more and you learn more of what the route means and what it stands for. And I'll say it again, this could not have been done without the fleshing out of Jonathan, Walter, and Isabeau. If those characters weren't as articulately made as they are, the game would not be as good. SMT4 would not be as good without those characters. I feel like the real meaning that they serve is to give the player a reflection and a perspective on how they see the world, which is really good because you can build your own perspective off of combining Walter, Jonathan's, and Isabeau's perspectives. When you look at all of them separately, you can start to construct your own feelings and your own perspective of what ending you want to take. Which is something that SMT5 just cannot replicate because of the shallow, one-dimensional characters that it's just filled to the brim of. One final point I really feel like I need to state is that SMT5 does not encapsulate the feeling of being a messiah like SMT4 and Nocturne and Apocalypse do. SMT5 just strings you along a story without giving you any say. This is obviously due to the lack of a presence of an alignment system or something that lets you change courses of the story. Again, you do not get to make any choice until the last 10% of the game. You do not get to make any changes until then. In 4, you can do one of 4 things. You can destroy Tokyo and everyone in there, eradicating most of the demons. You could bring demons to the eastern kingdom of Mikado and let them murder numerous civilians, creating a world of chaos. And then there's the neutral ending, where you can just bring Tokyo and the eastern kingdom of Mikado together. Or shit, just create a black hole and murder everybody. This just shows you how Flynn can do whatever the hell you wanted him to. Same thing with Demi-Fiend. You have the possibility to make, I think, 6 different worlds and possibilities depending on what you see to be the best ending. SMT5 does this, sure. It's just that all the effort of you making the world that you want happens in 5 hours of the 100 you spent getting there. I love SMT5. The soundtrack was just extraordinary. The change from Soji Meguro to Ryota Kozaka and Kenichi Tsuchiya was a change I was very open to. Thankfully the gameplay was great, but to me it wasn't as hard as I wanted it to be. Not as many SMT moments happen in this game than in the others. It's very nice to see a modern SMT on a modern system, but that's if you want to consider the Nintendo Switch a modern system and not a system that's a generation or two behind. It's saddening to see the limitations on the Switch be placed onto a game as beloved to me as SMT5, but here we are. These are my reasons for thinking Shin Megami Tensei V was not as compelling as its predecessors. Thank you for watching.